First and Now is your official BC Lions podcast. We are back ahead of Labor Day weekend. Our first Labor Day weekend game since 2015, young Nicky. You were still in high school back then, I think.
I was graduating grade 12, yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, that was 2015 September. So no,
yes.
I was doing construction for the city of Winnipeg at that time, that weekend.
So was that something you would have to do in the wintertime, outside in the cold?
No, I did it as a summer student.
Okay.
So I filled potholes. That was a fun
you.
job back in my hard labor days.
Good for you. Yeah, manual physical labor. That's good. Pull a little hair on your chest. Love that.
Get yelled at by the
Yelled
civilians,
at by the foreman. Was it like a Sopranos type deal where it was like one of those fake jobs where the guys just sat around and were on the payroll? What was?
I plead the fifth, but I can't throw anybody under the bus. But we definitely filled a good chunk of potholes throughout Winnipeg for a couple summers.
Awesome.
Got it done.
See, all that was going. See, that's how long it's been since the Lions have played on Labor Day weekend. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited to be a part of it. We'll get into Montreal, but I think we kind of have to touch on the 30-13 loss to Hamilton. Our first time doing this podcast together ever, where we're talking about a 2-game losing streak, Nick. Speaking of not happening for a while, you have to go back to the late stages of that shortened 2021 campaign. The Lions had gone 29 straight without losing 2 in a row, but full credit to the Tiger Cats. Came in here, and yes, our old friend James Butler, who we talked about a bit last week, he said it himself, playing with a chip on his shoulder, but that was a complete team effort offensively from Hamilton. Way better on the line of scrimmage. Taylor Powell wasn't forced to beat the Lions. And really, that was the game plan they had to go with. And sadly, it did not work out in our favor.
Yeah, I thought with last week, obviously, was one of the largest defeats we suffered. But 2 weeks ago with Saskatchewan, the Riders played their A+ game, but we probably played about like a B+ game. And that was almost good enough, but it wasn't.
Until the fourth quarter, there was not much A+ football for this Lions team, correct?
Yeah, and then last week, I thought Hamilton had another, probably like their A game at least, maybe even A+. Like they didn't really make any mistakes, but the Lions just really didn't have that comeback effort, right? And I think Rick Campbell talked about that. The effort was low and the energy was low, and those are two things that are concerning. But at least in this world of professional football, you just bounce back to next week and you have another week to try and fix those mistakes that were made on Saturday.
Yeah, and really, it sounds like we overdo it with this. Maybe I do, but every game comes down to those 5-6 plays, and you look at the Lions move the ball pretty well on the opening drive, but ultimately that 3rd and inches where they get stopped, maybe the ball was snapped too late, Hamilton takes over, and really from the get-go their offense was clicking, like we've been saying. They took advantage of that big mistake. The Lions even get 3 on that opening drive. You're talking about an entirely different half for sure. It was only 10-3 Tiger Cats at the half. But, you know, a night where Sean White, a rare field goal miss, could have been 10-6 at the half. That, to me, at that moment was like, okay, anything that can go wrong is going to go wrong for this team. When the offense can't finish and they can't bail out after maybe getting a big takeaway, Sean White has been that constant savior, can salvage 3 points at any given time when they're in position to kick a field goal, but that one sails wide or short. I can't remember. It was a 50-yard attempt, so you're not going to fault the kicker here, but might have been just short. And, yeah.
I think he had the distance. I was in the end zone. I think he had it.
Yeah, might have just not quite. He didn't split the uprights anyway.
Bottom line, yeah.
Rare miss, only his 2nd miss of the year, still leads in field goal percentage, and Whitey's having a great year. But again, that moment just... It's not going to be our night, I don't think, when stuff like that happens.
It did have that feeling whenever there was a play, like a big play or a crucial moment, it was Hamilton coming up with that play. Like even on their very first drive, the very first defensive play, Josh Banks records a sack. It's 2nd and long, right, with the young quarterback at BC Place. And what does he do? He hits Godwin over the middle for a first down. And it felt like as much as James Butler had all these 10, 20-yard runs, he had a couple where he got stuffed for a loss and it was 2nd and long, but then Taylor Powell stepped up and hit Duke Williams or he hit Tim White for a first down. So whenever Hamilton needed a play, they executed, and that's a 30-13 result's going to be the end result of when that happens, right?
Yeah, and the accidental pass interference on Keon Hatcher, I thought that was pass interference. I don't know. Looked like a don't know if they say their feet got intertwined or what happened there, but I thought he was interfered with and should be a spot foul or whatever. But yeah, again, don't quite get the field position they want out of that penalty, and VA ultimately throws an interception to Leonard that all but seals the game. I think the score was 17-6 at that point when they turned the ball over. So I think it was, the chance to make it a one-score game late, and then all you know what breaks loose after the interception, a touchdown, and then an onside kick return for a touchdown in there as well. Just, again, everything that could go wrong did go wrong, but you know what? It's if you're going to have one of these little mini slides, 2-game losing streak, not that I'm justifying it, but maybe August is the time. Again, we're about to hit Labor Day weekend here. I don't believe in that garbage. Oh, the real season starts now. No.
Cliche.
The wins in June and July, last time I checked, are worth 2 points, just like the wins in September and October in this league. But timing-wise, still a third of the season to go here, and I know people may be looking at the standings now saying, okay, 2 games, 4 points behind Winnipeg, have to maybe more worry about staying ahead of Saskatchewan now. Maybe that's true. Maybe, but again, 1 week can change the perspective here. I mean, Winnipeg has to go into Saskatchewan. They're going to be off their bye. They're going to be rejuvenated after taking care of us a couple of weeks ago. So anything can happen, but just have to worry about this Lions team getting back in the win column, because if it doesn't, the rest of that won't matter.
Yeah. I mean, the glass half full look, too, is that, it's not even September yet, and this Lions team has double-digit wins against Winnipeg, 2 against Calgary, Saskatchewan, and Montreal. So that's an impressive resume right there. Yeah, these losses aren't ideal, and now they're 7-4, but you don't drown by falling in the water. You drown by staying in it, right? So now this is a new week going to Montreal it's a really important game too, just based on the standings wise. And it's a chance for this team they've bounced back before. And I'm sure that's on their mind right now. And we heard Vernon Adams Jr. talk to the media the other day too, about saying that there was the veterans got together and had a leadership meeting based on we're better than this. And they know they're better than this. And they hold each other to a higher standard than dropping a 17-point loss to a team like Hamilton, right? So I'm really looking forward to this week to see how this team can bounce back. I know they got it in them, and it's just a matter of doing it and executing on the field.
Yeah, and Coach Rick was very complimentary after Tuesday's practice on how quick it was, how the tempo, I know that's a word that gets used a lot, but that's what you like to hear. Has to translate over onto the field of play, but this can go one or two ways. It can continue, and maybe you're looking at a downward slide, or get back to playing football the way they were the first 10 weeks or so of the season. And we believe the team is capable of doing that. Excellent chance here against Montreal. And it wasn't all doom and gloom either. Like, people might be ragging on Keon Hatcher for a couple of drops. This is a guy who went over 100 yards again, Nick. Had the lone touchdown, was too little too late, obviously, but 7 receptions on 11 targets. So yeah, he's not hauling it all in, but this guy's now he's 4th overall in receiving yards, right? Hollins and Hatch both in the top 4. So that's a positive you take in. Hollins himself, pedestrian lately compared to what he's been doing lately, 76 yards, but made a nice big sideline catch there when the offense was in need of some momentum. That was in the first half, I think, and so it wasn't all doom and gloom. Vernon Adams Jr. over 300 yards again. He's 2nd in passing yards, 1st in completion percentage, minimum of 100 attempts or however it is they calculate it. So again, we're trying to preach to the choir and stay positive, but there really is a lot to like about this Lions team.
100%. I thought Taquan Mizell had a pretty solid night too. Almost got 100 total yards in the loss at Hamilton. Obviously couldn't really get involved in the second half that much, at least on the ground, because of the situation with the score. But he's someone where you just get the ball in his hands and let him do his magic, right? And he showed that on the very first play from scrimmage. I think he had like a 25-yard reception. So he's someone that can definitely get involved in both the run and pass game. We've seen that back in his Virginia days too, with catching the ball. And then I brought this up earlier. Like the team they did stop Butler for a couple of tackles for a loss, and there were a couple that they could have even had more tackles for a loss on JB, but ultimately slipped away. So, I mean, just you got to execute in those situations, right? And it's also a team too. I was thinking about this. Like the run defense is a big topic this week, but I mean, this team held Jamal Morrow to 11 yards on 12 carries just over a month ago. Like, there's impressive games, but it's just a matter of being consistent.
I was just going to say, the running back we're going to see this week, William Stanback, I looked this up, 17 yards rushing when the Lions handled Montreal with relative ease back on the 9th of July, a 35-19 win. So, this defense going to be scrutinized here. And we're talking about it. They allowed JB to do his thing. Hamilton chewed up the clock, really owned the time of possession, grinded them down pretty well for 4 quarters. So Ryan Phillips is going to have this unit fired up and ready to go against a quarterback in Cody Fajardo and William Stanback out of the backfield. That's a duo that they've neutralized. Montreal has some playmakers on offense. They have the receiving leader in Austin Mack. Should be a nice test there. But if there's any consolation you take into this, it's a rematch against a team they matched up pretty well against last time here. But have to make the long flight, go into Montreal, going to be loud, going to have that horn guy behind our bench for sure. Might be a little humid, but I think this team will thrive off on that. Love the atmosphere at Molson Stadium.
Yeah, one other note about Ryan Phillips' defense is they don't have a takeaway in 2 weeks. And that does not sit well.
That's going to be eating at them, yeah.
So I think whether it's a strip sack or whether it's an interception or just a turnover on downs even, this group is that's going to be on their mind. That's all they're going to be focused on this week against, Montreal's got a good offense too, but they're definitely going to be fired up for this.
It's funny. It seemed in Montreal there were 3 or 4 would have been interceptions, drop balls. Maybe the ball ends up just behind the defender and it's in the air, it's up for grabs, and then it falls to the turf. So you get the sense they're due for maybe a couple here at some point.
I would say for sure.
As mentioned, it is Labor Day weekend, Saturday night. This used to be an annual Labor Day series. BCLions.com, shameless plug, check it out. I chronicled some of the more recent Labor Day history between the Lions and Alouettes. First met in 1980 on Labor Day. The Lions hold a 7-6 all-time advantage on Labor Day weekend between these two teams. The CFL game notes a little bit more information, but head to BCLions.com, talk to Ryan Phillips, part of that rivalry as a player, 06 to 2010, and he kind of went with the idea of, it's a tough place to play because of the long flights and time change, and if you look at the history, it's the home team mostly winning between these two clubs, but first time since 2015, and we've had some fun this week. We've talked to a couple of our Montreal or Quebec natives. In David Menard's case, he's from Chicoutimi, Quebec. Didn't grow up right in Montreal, but he's going to have some family friends on hand. We'll hear from Josh Archibald a bit later on, but David Menard, a solid member of the rotation on the defensive line. Matthew Bett's been getting a lot of the attention at that end position, rightfully so, but Menard has stepped in and allowed Betts to rest, and he's been pretty effective out there with the pass rush and stopping the run, and they're going to need him to be against Montreal. But we talked to Menard about making his trip back to Quebec. Okay, well, we'll start there. Home cooking this week. How excited are you to go back home?
Very excited. It's always fun to go back home, see my friends and family playing in front of I don't want to say home crowd, but it kind of feels like home crowd for me. So, it's always fun to go out there.
How many tickets are you on the hook for?
Well, only got like a dozen right now, so it's not a lot. It's mostly family. So, I've been here for a while now, so everybody that wanted to come see me play, they did it in the previous years. So.
What about your time with the Caravan? You would have played at McGill against McGill, right? What sort of memories do you have of that stadium?
Playing against McGill, it wasn't that hard, to be honest with you. It was pretty much a mismatch every time. So my good memories are mostly from my CFL years. So I got a lot of good memories out there. So like I said, it's always fun to go back out there, and always love to be in Montreal.
Outside of the game, which you're focused on first, but any traditions, food you like to go check out there?
No. I just go with what I feel like on the moment. So we'll see what that's gonna look like when I get there. But as long as I'm with my friends and family, mostly my girlfriend, the food doesn't matter. But I do like the poule mouillé, good old poutine with the Portuguese chicken on it. So, yeah, that's a good one.
Love it. Playing on Labor Day weekend, first time in a long time. You would have been here the last time, 2015 in Montreal. Just how cool is that, David, to be part of the Labor Day tradition?
Well, like you said, it's always it's a good tradition. So these games are really important. And also, like the last stretch of the season after Labor Day, it's always the most important games. So it's kind of like it's sort of the last stretch with the games that matters the most. So level of the game goes up a little bit.
And then defensively, what are we looking to improve on this week?
Stop the run. Definitely last week we didn't do that good enough. And get after the quarterback. They bring a lot of people in the box to protect the quarterback. So once we stop the run, we'll get after that quarterback and we'll be in business.
All right.
One for me, Dave.
Yep.
The actual environment of playing in Montreal, it's kind of a sneaky, tough atmosphere to play in. There's challenges with that, playing at Montreal?
No, I don't see it that way. Like, honestly, I love the adversity, so I really like a good challenge. So having a tough crowd, it's always fun to me. So I don't see it as a negative. So. But to me, like I feel like I'm home, so right, it's different. I just go out there and do my best in front of my families.
The atmosphere in Montreal, though, it's difficult to play it, right?
The noise, yeah, it's definitely loud. It's definitely loud for sure. But like last time in Sask, that was a good one as well. That was very, very loud. So I feel like we're really prepared to go against a loud crowd. But yeah, I feel like with the season they've got, fans going to be loud and it's going to be a tough challenge, that's for sure.
Awesome. Beauty. Yeah. Yep. Love that, David Menard. One of the more enjoyable guys to talk to on this team.
Oh yeah, always in a positive mood, always smiling and laughing around. So it's always fun to.
It's always an amazing dynamic, right? Guys grow up in a place, they get drafted, and this becomes their football home. And it's a cool thing to see guys interacting with their family and their friends in the stands, whether it be warm up, post game. I'm sure all the entourage will be out by the bus, and he's been a long-serving BC Lion, drafted in 2014, had a couple of stints here, and maybe a guy who's been a little bit underappreciated.
For sure, yeah, and I think even because what year was it he got the most outstanding Canadian award, or he was a nominee for it?
It was ironically he lost out to Bola Cumbo in 2021.
Yeah, and he's just a rotational player too, and almost racked up double-digit sacks. I think he's made his name known as a really good pass rusher over his long career now, right? And I know we were even joking with Max Ray that he's kind of the veteran guy. He used a different word, but he's probably the veteran guy on this defensive line, right? So yeah, he's been just wherever he goes, he proves to be effective in whatever role he served.
Of course, another big storyline, a guy who's not from there, but Vernon Adams Jr. making his first start in Montreal as a member of the Lions. Remember last year, made the trade for him, went there the first week. He wasn't really fully integrated yet into the offense. Antonio Pipkin got the start. VA came in and played, I think, 2 series. Maybe it was just 1 in the second quarter. The game was kind of out of hand. It was a 31-10 Montreal win, but he spoke to reporters. VA did after practice on Monday, Farhan Lalji from TSN included, and again talked about meeting with the leadership, the captains, and just how the vibe has stayed upbeat here despite a couple of losses.
Looked like you guys had a lot of energy and enthusiasm coming off a tough loss. How important was it to have
Yeah, man. We had a little leadership council meeting, and that's what we thought we needed to do. We needed to come out day one, have great energy, taking the field, on and off the field with urgency, and that's what it was today. It was a good day one.
What was the message in that meeting? Like, as leaders, what do you need to do differently after a loss like that?
Right. We just all came together and we said, let's clear the air. Anything we want to talk about, we want to work on. And that energy was one of the main things from this past game. If I throw an interception, the defense wants to take the field with energy, and or if, say, the defense gets scored on, we want to do the same thing as an offense, you know what I'm saying? So we just want to pick each other up, play complementary football, and just be better.
Was that game a bit of a crossroads for you guys to kind of determine who you want to be the rest of the season here?
We'll see. We'll find out. Not saying we needed it, but I think everybody came with more urgency today. Like, hey, let's go. It's time to work, man. Every team in this league is good, and you can't overlook anyone.
So going back to Montreal, is it still a special thing for you?
Yeah, spent 7 years there, you know what I'm saying? So definitely special. Love the city, everything like that. So, just want to get a win this week.
But in terms of motivation or anything like that, that's kind of come and gone?
No, I've played them twice since I left already, you know what I'm saying? 1-1. So, I just want to go there and just get a win, most importantly.
Their defense has been fairly good, and you know what Norththorpe defenses tend to bring. So just what are your thoughts on that defense specifically?
Yeah, man, they've gotten better each week, Last week was a little different. They were on a short week and traveling and things like that, but they're going to be well rested, and, we know what they bring. They're a type of bend but don't break type of defense, so they're going to try to keep everything in front, and I got to take what they give me. Take what they give me, have fun, play our ball, and score some points.
Yeah, and points were hard to come by in this last game. So after having watched the film, and you guys did move the ball and just didn't finish, like, what were your takeaways from what happened offensively?
Exactly what you said. We moved the ball. We didn't finish. That first drive, we get down there, we get stopped on the 3rd and 1. We're driving before the half, don't complete something, bad throw or whatever, got to kick a field goal. After the half, same thing, we just weren't finishing, taking our turns, just not finishing. So we're going to do a better job of that this week. How
frustrating are drops?
Hey, it comes with it. I know they're frustrated if I don't see them on a read or something like that. I don't want to get frustrated. I don't want to show that, and I want my guys to know that I believe in them. Even when they do drop one, you see me come right back to them. I told the guys, hey, I'm coming right back to you. So just to build that confidence up, and then I know they're going to make plays because we got one of the best groups in the league.
As a team, you guys will get doubted now for the first time. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on that?
Hey, well, it's all right. Them tables going to turn, and y'all stay on that side.
Good. Thanks.
God bless. Go Lions.
Love hearing that from VA. And, Farhan asked him the question about any motivation going back, and he gave the politically correct answer, I think you heard there. He's more focused on getting a win, and of course he's going to say that, but you have to think maybe inside there's a little bit of extra juice.
100% behind closed doors. I imagine he's wants to go into Montreal first and foremost to win the game, like he said. But secondly, I think he wants to prove that he can play at an MLP pace and be one of the top quarterbacks in this league and be that air raid that this offense has become this season, right? So I would say that's probably going to be a little, I'll say it for him, is going to be a little extra motivation for Vernon.
He, of course, beat Montreal here in July, avoided an early setback with a pick six that was called back due to an illegal contact. Had a bit of a lifeline there and performed well. 17-12 as a member of the Alouettes was Vernon Adams Jr., spread out over a couple of seasons. Of course, Eastern Division All-Star in 2019, leading Montreal to second place in a home playoff date. Came up short against Edmonton in that Eastern semifinal, but that was kind of his coming out party as a full-time starter in this league. And I hit on it a bit earlier. Again, second in passing yards to Calgary's Jake Mayer, second in passing touchdowns, trailing only Zach Caleros, first in completion percentage, upwards of about 79.3%, I believe it is. So, yeah, it might be boring rattling off stats, but for the narrative there that this guy can't lead you to victories, that's BS if you ask us. Just look at the data. We don't make the rules. That's what we say on this podcast. Just look at the data. Before we hear from Josh Archibald, we caught up with Josh after practice, another guy who's on the hook for some tickets and going back to McGill where he played his college ball. Just a great special teams player he's turned into in year two at the BC Lions. I've made no bones about it. Montreal is my favorite road stop in this league. Just the vibe, great food. We'll get our smoked meat and our poutine. And Menard, of course, recommended a place for us where they put a little Portuguese chicken on the poutine. I'm already looking forward to that. I don't know about you, but what do you love most about going to Montreal?
That's a good question. Probably the downtown.
Just the vibe,
life.
right? Yeah.
It's really neat. That was my first time there last year that I mentioned, but yeah, it was definitely a cool trip. And the stadium's, there's good visuals in the stadium. I know it's maybe not the best for locker room and workplace setting and all of that, but when my
people don't care about this, but yeah, for working conditions for what we do, not the best, but we get by.
But the look of the stadium, I know we talked about like the buildings that surround it, and then I think it's Mount Royal that's behind it, right? Am I correct on that?
Mount Royal, yeah.
Yeah, the big hill behind it. So it's a really nice looking stadium when it comes to filming and all that. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite road trips too.
Long flight, but it's worth it.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
You just have to take advantage of the time there. Saturday night, 4:00. 3 o'clock pregame, AM 7:30, Moj and Julio. And hoping to get this win, feeling confident. Something tells me that this team is going to pull through ahead of a bye week. So talking about this with Moj at practice early in the week, and he wrote about it in his column at Black Press Media. Again, we don't want to lose focus. It's a one-game-at-a-time mindset, but have to go on a bit of a winning streak here, right? Just sort of keep that first-place dream alive at Montreal, then the bye, home to Ottawa, at Edmonton, home to Saskatchewan. Very doable, but it starts with just getting one win here Saturday.
Yeah, it is favorable in September for sure, just based off looking at the schedule and the standings of the teams that we're lining up against, and it all kind of comes down to that October 6th game, and now even the September 29th game against Saskatchewan, right? Like that two games.
Back-to-back at home, those could tell the story, right?
Yeah, if we're looking ahead, those two games are probably going to decide where probably all three of these Western teams right now that are in these top three lineup, because I don't know if you looked at the standings, but Calgary and Edmonton on this weekend, that game's for fourth place.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All of a sudden, it's a very interesting game now that Edmonton's gone on a mini run here. Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, if the Argos, Bombers, us, Montreal, and Saskatchewan are in the playoffs, that's one spot left, whether it's going to be the Tiger Cats or one of the Alberta teams. You have to include Edmonton in that mix now, right? So I know you were talking maybe about an Eastern crossover at one point. I don't see that happening. I don't think the Ottawa Red Blacks have done their part in terms of making that race a possibility. But a Western crossover, again, if you're talking realistically about one spot being up for grabs, and again, a lot can happen in a couple of weeks as we're learning. Yeah, Edmonton's part of that mix. If they get a Labor Day sweep here, which is easier said than done, because they've proven to have their problems in Calgary over the years, look out, right?
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a little bit better for the league than talking about a team that's winless and hasn't won at home since 2019. It is good for the league.
Yeah, I think big picture, like the level of entertainment when it comes to the CFL games has been off the charts. Like probably one of the best seasons so far that I can remember. When you think about all these like crazy, remember like these like Calgary and Ottawa games on that Sunday, like all these Sunday games. I thought us in Saskatchewan the other week was incredible, right? The Winnipeg Edmonton comeback, like it's just been.
And that's the weird thing. Ottawa hasn't won since that overtime game in Calgary.
Yeah, like even the game against Montreal the day before us, I was actually watching it back the other day because we were kind of out. We were out at Vic's watching it, so I wanted to get a better look at it all. And that was a crazy comeback by the Alouettes, right? And obviously got some help late in the fourth quarter, but it was, the entertainment this year has been off the charts. Yeah,
a lot of great games, and buckle up. These games are going to get more intense. The excitement level is going to get that much higher. I'll quickly look at the other two games before we hear from Josh Archibald. Toronto at Hamilton, and we'll see what the win for the Ticats here did. The Argos, they don't have too many flaws in their game right now. Allowed a couple of long completions to Reggie Begelton in their thrilling win over Calgary last week. But Hamilton's got a tough one here. But who knows? These Labor Day games have a tendency to surprise. Tim Hortons field is going to be rocking. And, if Hamilton can get another win here, get on a bit of a streak going, they could really stake claim to nailing down that final playoff spot, or maybe even chasing Montreal for second in the East.
Yeah, that's got to be the big storyline in this one. Is for Hamilton's sake, was last week an anomaly, or is this who they are, and they can play with any of the top dogs in the CFL, right? Like they got another test in the Toronto Argonauts coming in, and this is their third meeting of the season, and it's been two easy Argos win so far, right? So I know that doesn't sit well with them. And now you got probably a confident Taylor Powell. You got Scott Milanovic calling plays now for them. So
that's a big factor. Yeah.
I'm sure that they're hosting the Grey Cup this year, right? So there's been pressure from the get-go. So it's almost a now or never time for them in terms of you got to prove that you can consistently beat these top teams now if you want to compete for Lord Grey in November, right?
Hamilton 4-6, and again, you never know. We could do them a favor this week. They could be 2 points back of second place if everything goes Hamilton's way.
I think Montreal has a tiebreaker on them, though. They have 2 wins at least.
That's right.
I don't know if they play 4 times, but
they'll play at least once more. Yeah.
So
Sunday, my eyes will be glued to this one, Nikki. Saskatchewan home to Winnipeg. The Riders back to 5-5. Winnipeg 9-2. They just keep getting it done since that collapse they had in Ottawa in late July. But this is a tough spot for Winnipeg going in. We've seen when they've gone on the road, it hasn't gone 100% smooth for them. Falling behind on Edmonton, needed a DeMario Houston pick 6 just to preserve a win in Calgary the week after that. You know Mosaic is going to be rocking, just like Tim Hortons Field I mentioned a minute ago. Maybe this is the spot where Winnipeg drops one in the standings. We shall see. Jake Dolagala didn't look like he was fearing too much a couple of weeks ago when we were there.
Yeah, Spirit's got to be high in Regina too, right? You're back to 500.
And yeah, they're getting healthier in other areas too.
Yeah,
right?
They're back to 500. You know, Jake Dolagala proved that he can play competent football under center against us, right? Before the bye week they had last week. And out of the 3 provincial Labor Day rivalries, this is my favorite one. I don't know if that's because I've been so kind of close to it, but I find that this matchup there's real hatred between the 2 fan bases, the 2 teams. Like it just becomes like a physical kind of monsoon kind of game every time these teams meet, right? Especially these 2 weekends. It's one of those throw the record books throw the records out of the mix, right? Doesn't matter what team's records are what, it'll be probably a close game no matter what, especially this one on Mosaic. So
the Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Hamilton ones, I think to the casual fan might seem like they have a bit more cachet. Those are provincial rivalries, but yeah, you're right. There's a natural hatred between these 2 fan bases, the Bombers and the Rough Riders. As much as it seems they both hate us when we go into their respective stadiums, I think that's taken up a notch, whoever the visitor is in this series.
I can vouch for that, yeah.
And then you've got the Banjo Bowl the week after in Winnipeg. So the Banjo Bowl sold out at IG Field on the following Saturday.
These fan bases, too, they always kind of joust for who's the best or who's the loudest or whatever, too. So there's always that aspect to it, too. It's Mosaic's turn always first to bring the noise, and then Winnipeg gets to do it the following weekend in the Banjo Bowl. But, yeah, both atmospheres are second to none when it comes to the CFL schedule for this. Like, the BC place has been incredible, too. But, I mean, like, you got to Mosaic Labor Day and the Banjo Bowl the week after is 2 of the top ones in the entire schedule, in my opinion.
One of the best weekends on the sporting calendar and the football calendar in general. And yeah, it's cool we get to be a part of it. Saturday, kicking off Labor Day weekend, 4:00 Pacific.
Put on a show.
Yes. Love Montreal. All right, before we're out of here, Lions draft pick, a second-year defensive lineman / special teams special teams demon, as Moj would say. That's all due respect to Max Roy, but these guys are both demons. Josh Archibald, we caught up with him after practice just to talk about his role and how excited he is to go home this weekend. And we've tracked him down, Josh Archibald, post-practice here on a warm Wednesday, cleared up, thankfully. And Arch, first off, how's the week of preparation been? I know VA was very complimentary of how the guys have responded since Saturday's game.
Honestly, I think it's just the guys responding pretty well. I mean, practice is going well. We all know, our assignments. We all know what we got to do. Yes, we took 2 losses, but at the end of the day, we know our identity. We know we have ballers. We have players that can play well, and at the end of the day, it's just finishing and making sure that we get our assignments.
I know defensively there was a lot of talk about Butler doing his thing. Played Montreal last. You guys held stand back in check pretty good, right? Is that the recipe you go back to this week, plugging the holes and stopping the run?
I think, honestly, it starts with the D-line, on defense. So the D-line is ultimately who runs the game and who sets the tempo for the rest of the defense. So if we could plug the run, I mean, that just goes for football in general. If you plug the run, I mean, it just gets a lot harder to run your offense if you don't establish the run. So we're looking to dominate the run early and essentially making sure that, once we get that done, the rest will follow suit.
Special teams. You make your presence known on special teams, some big hits. How much do you thrive off that? Making a big play, a big collision jacks up the rest of the team.
I think it's incredibly important for the team, especially if we're in limbo, say on offense or on defense. You're looking for that spark. So I'm looking to play my role right now, and if that's on special teams, core special teamer, on every special teams, I'm looking to, give my 100% every time and making sure that, the other teammates feed off my energy.
Montreal back home, McGill and everything. Let's get an update. How many tickets have you secured now?
So I know a lot of my teammates are mad because they're like, Arch, you asked a month ago and I got no more tickets, but I got about 40. Got about 40, 45. So I bought 10 of my own, but other than that, I got the monopoly on the tickets this week.
I'm just not saying. I'm just saying there might be a secret stack somewhere, so you know who to talk to if any more emergencies arise.
We'll link after this podcast. We'll link after.
Deal, Nick.
Are they going to be wearing like Archibald jerseys, or do you know the attire yet for them?
Orange. We'll just keep it at orange for now. We'll keep it at orange.
Do you ever think about this is your second trip to Montreal now too, right? Do you ever think about like a year and a half ago, like when you were getting drafted, that you'd be playing in football in Vancouver or across the country, or like, you ever think about that big scale?
I'm actually going to be perfectly honest and brutally honest. I never thought I would have been drafted by Vancouver for the sole fact that Montreal is the furthest team away from Vancouver. So I thought maybe that would play a role. But honestly, it was a blessing in disguise. This organization speaks for itself. It's going in the right direction. And I'm just excited to play in my hometown.
It's on the teams too that we talked about. It's been quite a development for you. Like I was looking at the PFF stats. I think you have 8 tackles listed there. That sounds about right. Probably because especially right off the bat. But like your development itself, like how much more comfortable do you feel in year 2 now?
When I was in university, first year, it took me a while to adjust. But after my third year, I kind of, grasped it. It's kind of the same thing here. You're in a new environment. The play is a little bit faster. I didn't really play on special teams as much as, say, here at McGill. So it's a matter of just getting used to it, getting used to the tempo, and just learning from your mistakes and trying not to do the same mistakes over and over. And essentially, if you have your head right, you come, you show up early, you go to the gym, you stretch, you do what you need to do, everything else will fall in place.
All right. Well, enjoy it, savor it. Let us know where you're going for poutine or smoked meat, and we might just tag along.
I got you.
Let's hear some. Let's hear. No, let's hear.
Come on, Menard gave us a place.
And Max, so drop one.
I'll drop one.
We have like a...
Put you on the spot here, but
Yeah, you put me on the spot.
Max gave us like a chicken and...
Royer gave us like a chicken and chorizo place.
I'm gonna go real basic here. Not basic, but you have to go. If you go to Montreal, you have to visit this spot, the Orange Julep. Very underrated, but beautiful and very good.
All right. Okay, let's get it.
Thank you very much.
Love it. Very well-spoken guy, like we talked about with Menard earlier on in the podcast. And yeah, he's... if you know anyone with tickets, just give Josh a call. He could probably use some more.
That's one thing I'm looking forward to this game too, with our 6 Quebec-born players on our team right now, and we have more ties to the city of Montreal on our team, and I think there's going to be a lot of orange in that crowd. It's going to be cool to see.
Yeah.
Make some noise.
And you heard Josh kind of hesitate there. Yeah, there'll be an orange. I guess you can't take the Alouettes blue and red out of certain people, even if they have friends and loved ones playing for other teams. All right, Lions Alouettes pregame show AM 7:30. Moj and Julio 3:00 Pacific. Be tuned here to BCLions.com. We'll have all the pre and post game interviews, a little post game bakes, takes, recap. Furiously be tapping away at my MacBook here as we're getting ready to go on the bus to the plane. It's always such a rush for me getting that recap done, and it's fun. Even when we lose, it's fun. But
that post-game moment, it's maybe like 30, 45 minutes at least when we're there, but it feels like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm doing media, I'm doing a win cam, I'm doing all that.
Yeah, we're doing all that. And I mean, the equipment guys are packing up and it seems like everyone's getting ready to leave. And I've had that dream a couple times, by the way, where we've been working and the bus left for the plane. And
it is a scary thought.
All right,
feel
I
like-
guess we're stuck in Regina for another night. Okay.
I feel like now, at least for my sake, like you're in a good routine though, where you know exactly what you got to do, and it's pretty. It's a pretty
You've got
repetitive
about an
process.
hour or so before you really have to go.
Multitasking,
of
all
there.
that. I'm exporting while I'm packing and doing all this kind of different stuff. Me's grabbing us waters. I like to grab us Aquafinas before we go to the game. Can I drop Aquafina? I'm gonna edit this out.
Aquafina is a Pepsi product. I believe you're okay.
Cal.
Yeah.
I'll pick it up from there.
We are Pepsi. Yeah.
I'll pick it up from there.
No, good on you. Yeah.
I'll pick it up from there.
Okay.
What do I say? Aquafina. Okay, I'm getting you guys Aquafinas.
Why don't I pick it up by saying you have an hour before you get to the bus, right? It seems quick, like you said, but yeah, it's quite
it's
the
a rush at
environment.
the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure you hydrate, post-game water, all of that, right?
I'm big, I think I'm big into the waters. I really don't say it, but I'm crushing like usually a good 6 waters probably during a game day.
Yeah.
Around that range.
too,
Like
yeah.
from when we leave till when we get there, when we get there till we leave. So always hydrated.
Neil McAvoy, if you're listening, make sure we both have aisle seats, okay? With a few bathroom trips on the flight home. All right, love it. Be sure to subscribe, rate, leave us a review. I'm at BakesTakes84 on Twitter. Prove to us you listened to the whole podcast by giving us a follow. He is at Nick_Kowalski, Nick with a K. And bye week for us next week, but we'll squeeze one of these in, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday.
Yeah, we got
Maybe
on tap
Tuesday.
too. So
Tuesday we got on tap, yes. The Village Pub in Champlain Heights. Our pals at Coors Light, thank you for sponsoring BC Lions on Tap. And yeah, we're going to squeeze a couple shows in before I go off to Whistler next Wednesday.
ooh,
Some family time away, yeah. It's amazing. The Whistler price is pretty manageable the week after summer sort of ends. Not officially ends, but kids are back to school. And so looking forward to that. All right, first and now, let's behave yourself in Montreal. We'll be paying attention, Nick. This is the official BC Lions podcast.